You want to feel old? World of Warcraft came out the same year as Napoleon Dynamite, Spider-Man 2, and Shaun of the Dead. That was the same year that I graduated high school. It is a profound achievement for a game to maintain its relevance and momentum for 10 years and counting, which means that World of Warcraft truly is one of a kind. To drive this point even further, World of Warcraft came out in 2004. That's the same year as releases such as Half-Life 2, the original Fable, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, The Sims 2, Halo 2, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. All prominent games in their own right, but for the most part, they are at best looked back upon and remembered fondly, while World of Warcraft is still being experienced by a massive player base in a fresh world. And while most of these games have maintained their relevance through sequels and a few obligatory HD remakes, World of Warcraft has literally expanded. WoW is the evolution of the same characters telling the same story in the same world. A world that changes and grows, with absolutely no sign of slowing down. It is ironic, however, that this growth has brought on some of the biggest challenges for the game from a developer standpoint. You might think of this as the game's version of growing pains. We first saw this problem with the original talent trees. Man, that takes you back. Those old school 31 point deep talent trees. You know, back when you'd get a talent point every level. They worked out fine for a while, but they grew with each expansion, and by Wrath, they were a whopping 51 points deep. By then, Blizzard started to realize that these trees were just getting too big, so in Cataclysm they cut them back down to their original size, and instead of getting a talent point every level, we'd get one every few levels. But again, they realized that this would just lead to the same problem and scrap the old talent point system with a new system. This is the talent system that we know today. More streamlined, fewer but more meaningful choices, and easier to rework when necessary. And there were more issues just like this that were addressed in Warlords of Draenor. As health pools, DPS numbers, and stats grew to outlandish heights, we saw the great stat squish of 6.0, bringing down all the numbers we saw on our screens, making it easier to math. And as our action bars were overflowing with abilities, Blizzard did some much needed pruning, making everything a lot easier to manage. But amidst all the pruning, squishing, and remodeling, there is still one major growing pain that has yet to be addressed: leveling. Not level cap. There is a lot of discussion centered around the post-level 100 level cap. Essentially, level 100 is more aesthetically pleasing than level 105 or level 110. And to that I say, you're missing the bigger picture. Because it's not about the number, it's about what it takes to get to that number that's the problem. Each expansion provides new content and a raised level cap, and in the process, the distance between level 1 and level cap grows. And just like everything else in the game, over time this grows to outlandish proportions, especially when you consider that Blizzard has planned 6 or 7 more expansions on top of the 5 expansions we already have. Blizzard's done a few things to try to address this problem with the occasional XP squish and the inclusion of heirlooms. However, you can only speed up the leveling process so long before you'll be leaving a zone faster than you entered it, and that's just not good game design. Besides, it's not so much about how long it takes, it's the daunting task of having to go through Old World, then to Outlands, then to Northrend, back to Old World, to Pandaria, to Draenor, and beyond. And I can already see some of you pointing to the level 90 boost service, but that's for rich people who want to skip content. It's not an answer for a painfully arduous leveling process. This is an issue of good game design and the overall flow of the leveling experience. Now, some might argue that perhaps it's time to get rid of leveling altogether. These are probably the same people that think that Mortal Kombat shouldn't have fatalities and The Sims shouldn't be an open world. Oh wait, well, you could always go work at EA, the thriving game franchise slaughtering house. But seriously, leveling is a central part of the Warcraft experience, so like it or not, it's not going anywhere. Face it, there's more to Warcraft than endgame and raiding. So how do we deal with this growing line between level 1 and level cap? Fortunately, Blizzard has proven that they're more than capable of evolving the world and reworking the flow of leveling in the game. Certainly I'm not suggesting that we give Outlands, Northrend, and Pandaria their own Cataclysm expansion, but let me ask you this. What if instead of having one really long line from level 1 to level cap, what if we had a couple smaller lines? What if we could choose between which expansions we want to experience? So imagine it like this. You start off at level 1 and you go through Old World all the way to level 58. Actually, let's dial that back to level 55 because it's more aesthetically pleasing. Now at level 55 you have a choice. Do you want to go battle the Burning Legion in Outlands, or do you want to go to Northrend and take on the Scourge? This effectively shortens the leveling distance and gives players a choice. So from level 55 to 65, you can either do Burning Crusade or Wrath of the Lich King. And now you have another choice. Do you want to go back to Old World and take on Deathwing, or do you want to go to Pandaria and help out the Pandaren? Now you're level 70 and you move on to Draenor. And as time goes on and more expansions are added, you can continue the process. This method shortens the arduous task of trouncing through multiple expansions, and it brings the leveling cap back down below level 100. And it gives players even more choices while leveling, which is great for people who want to level up alts. You could call it the Great Expansion Squish, and that is just one idea for how the game could change. But whether they do that, or they do something else, I will be looking forward to seeing how this game continues to evolve. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that like button, or even the favorite button. And if you found it informative, perhaps you'd like to inform your friends by sharing it with them. And don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see future videos on this channel. Thanks for watching, have a wonderful day, this is Kephis, until next time.